What you built was a business that you wanted to sell. The only way you're going to get top dollar is you build a business that you want to buy. Every problem you have in a company is because of one of two reasons, and one of two reasons only. One, you don't have a good system. And two, and probably the most common, is you're not holding your people accountable to follow your system.
Welcome to the Franchise Champion Show. I'm Alan Regala, former G1 athlete, Stanford engineer, and 14-year franchise owner who built and sold a multi-million-dollar business. I created this show to help driven individuals like you find the right franchise and learn how to build wealth and reclaim your time. My guest today is the founder of One Tom Plumber, a plumbing franchise that's grown to more than 100 locations across the country. He's the kind of person who doesn't just talk about building something. He's done it over and over and over again across 13 different businesses. Rocky Hensley, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alan. How's it going?
It is going fantastic. I am super excited to learn more about your story and all the things that you've done, because you've done quite a bit, and I know a lot of the listeners out there are going to be really interested to hear what you have to say. So before we get into your franchise at One Tom Plumber, I would love to hear what happened before that and leading up to getting into this and starting this franchise.
Okay, well, it started. I don't have a high school diploma. I got my GED, and I've always been money driven. I've got some college, and I just knew that if I was going to make any kind of real money in life, that I was going to have to do it on my own, because Procter & Gamble probably wouldn't promote me up to CEO with a GED and a little bit of college. So started a business, me and my best buddy out of college. It was a paper and recycling business, and we grew it up to about $8 million and working 3 shifts, and ended up, we were 50-50 partners, and that a lot of times doesn't really work real well when you got 2 alphas. So we ended up selling it to a company called Omaha Paper Stock, and saw this check. I had this great check, and I'm like, wow, this is awesome. So I was like, I'm going to do this again. Now, at the time, I thought I sold it for enough to live off of the rest of my life, and then I realized maybe 3 years, so it's after taxes and legal fees and split it with my partner. So I just started businesses, had a knack for it, and grew over time. And my first big sale was to private equity. I'd grown a business to about $110 million, 3 states, 5 offices, and sold it to a company which eventually got bought by Berkshire Hathaway, sold it to a company called Better Homes and Garden. And that was my first real big check, and then got into another business and another business, and just built and just systems. Once you learn, as the system and what system you like and how to do it, it's just a matter of bringing in talent and bringing in right people, getting them to buy into your system and your culture, and then there's no stopping you.
Yeah, I gotta ask. So you've done this multiple times. I mean, it's fascinating to me. You were successful very early on, and you just kept doing it. Tell me more about that. Each one of these times, like after the first, 4 or 5 or however many businesses, like what is the mindset that you're going into with each of these? Is it to off the top of your head already that you're setting it up to sell, or you just it's just smart to set up all the systems and processes and things anyways, and you might want to keep it, or do you have the end in mind already at the beginning?
Oh, that's such a good question. And keep in mind too, my business is one of the business I built and sold was solar. One was a paper recycling company business. One was mortgage and titling business. One was a property rescue company, a restoration company that was specific to businesses and big businesses. The plumbing business, I owned 3 1-800 Packout franchises, Louisville, Cincinnati, and Columbus. And then, just a variety of things. So when I say that it's truly just a system and getting the right people, and One Tom Plumber is a great example in the sense that we had, when I sold to Everside, which is a private equity company, we had 110 locations, 6 of which I own, and we sold it with no debt. And the other thing is I built these companies with no debt. So again, it's just systems. And back to your original question, I look at building a business as a rocket ship. Okay, you got to kind of put things in place. Okay, and then you launch. And everybody asks me like, I want to start a business. When do you think I should start a business? And it's tomorrow. Okay, because the way I look at it, and most entrepreneurs out there, you'll totally know what I'm talking about, in the sense that like you strap in and you launch. Okay. And it's like being in a rocket. It's like someone shaking you. Nothing's going right. You're just holding on for dear life, and you don't know really which direction you're going. You're bringing people in, you're shooting, and you're shooting for the stars. There's smoke, there's chaos, there's fire that you're constantly dealing with. And then, it starts to level out. And then you kind of get through the smoke and the fire, and you're like, oh, okay, that's where I'm going, and then you start adding people, and you pick up steam, and you pick up, momentum, and you pick up, and you see where you're going, and you're going faster and faster and faster. And here's where I feel most people make the biggest mistake when I'm mentoring other entrepreneurs is they don't get rid of the rocket boosters. It's the hardest thing in the world to do. I call them rocket boosters. And what I mean by that is you have these people that were in that rocket. They were in the fire. They were in the the chaos and everything, and they helped you come out of it. Okay, but sooner or later, that business outgrows those people. Okay, and I have so many people that I see that they hold on to those people. And those are rocket boosters. They help you get off the ground, but if you don't shed them, you're gonna stay where you are, and you're just not gonna. You got to take those off and replace them with new people, like more talented people for where you're going. And you need new rocket boosters. And then once you rotate a lot of them out, and you get new talent and smarter, better people at where you're going. It's amazing how you pick up steam again. And great example is one Tom Plummer. We got it to 110 franchises in 4.5 years. We sold 4.5 years into franchising, because I always say good works down the street. Okay, and that's so what that means is if you've got a good employee, I'm recruiting to replace them. To be honest with you, I want the 20%ers, and what I mean by that is 80% of all work gets done by 20% of the people. That's a mathematical fact. Some industries it's 75, 25, whatever. But I want those 20%ers. I want the 20% that does 80% of the work. And we're constantly recruiting till we get those people, because I don't get mired down with the loyalty factor. Okay. Now, if somebody is talented and they are great, they're going to make more money. They're going to have more fun. They're going to be surrounded by other winners, other rock stars, 20%ers, whatever you want to call them. And that's a great environment to work in. But if you're not one of the 20%ers, you're going to get rotated out. And then once that happens, that rocket ship, it's amazing how it takes off, and you leave the competition behind. And that's part of my system is literally just constantly recruiting better and better and better talent to fit the system that I put into place. And and I had people say, and I'm sure you've heard it too, like, oh, they helped me get started. They didn't do it for free. You never had to not pay them. You always had to be the last person to get a paycheck so they could get a paycheck. They're not coming over eating dinner at your house. An employee, I always try and tell people that employee is someone you're paying for their time to do things the way you want things done. Okay. Now, if they're great, you want them to feel part of the company and always be getting their ideas and helping them build this company. Because most of the people I hire are way smarter than me, but I'm smart enough to hire smarter people than me. And that's what I mean by the system. And bringing people in and constantly bringing people in to make the system better and better and better, depending on what widget. Whether it's solar, whether it's plumbing. And keep in mind, I was on one plumbing job, and we built almost $100 million plumbing company, with me being on one plumbing job. And the reason is because I just know systems and I know how to put people in place to let them thrive.
That's great, Rocky. Well, I love how you frame that, because I've never really thought of it that way. The boosters, letting go of the boosters, that help you get to where you want to go, help you get off the ground. But they may not be the right people to keep you going forward in the direction you want to go. And for me, like, I never thought of it that way, but and I think everybody experiences this when they first start out, is that you bring on, you bring on who you bring on, and they are the right people at that time. And I couldn't have done it without those people. And so same with me, like, installers, designers for my franchise business, the right people at that time, and it got a certain point. And then, like, for me, with my designers, especially my design consultants in my home improvement business, after the first couple of years, I was like, wow, like, I was doing pretty good as a design consultant. Like, I was terrible at the beginning, but then I figured it out. But I kind of had this mindset of like, wow, I'm doing pretty well, but like, the rest of my team isn't really doing as well. But for me, it was like, well, maybe it's because I'm the owner, right? Like, I'm the owner, like, and then it wasn't until I brought on someone that was really quite good that wasn't me, and I was like, oh, it is possible. And so it's all these other people that it's, and is when it was the boosters, and so it was time to kind of freshen things up, clear things out, bring out the old, bring in the new, that was just better. Like, the bar has been raised, and so I got to level everything up to meet that.
And that's the case. And those people want to work with other people, other talented people. And if you don't have, like, you got one or two and 6 others that aren't that talented, which way do you think it goes? Those talented people take their foot off the gas pedal a little bit because you're like, hey, these people are getting away with it. And it's a mental thing. It's not even sometimes they don't even realize they're doing it. Okay. But if you've got 6 of those talented people, you'd be surprised at how they'll bring up the other 2. Okay. But in my opinion, and part of my business model is, I'm recruiting for those 2 positions, because until I get the right person. And sometimes you hire a worse person. Well, guess what? You're still recruiting until you get the right people in that position. The other thing that you have to do is if you've got the right people and you got the rock stars and they're helping you get, you have to make sure they're making enough money to where they would have to take a pay cut to leave. Okay. So, and that's where culture comes in, and culture's a big thing, but it's an overused term at the same time. Like, I hate the word culture, but it's truly what you need to be successful. And I can give you an example of what I'm talking about if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
When I say it's an overused term, I don't want to sit around and hold hands around a campfire and sing songs with my employees. Okay, that's not, I wouldn't sing Kumbaya. I don't mean we have to have peace and love and all get along. Okay, we had 4 things that was our culture, and every business that I built. First and foremost, we have a profit culture. Okay, we talk about profit all the time. Even in the trucks with One Tom Plumber, we knew how the profit of each truck, and we go through that with each individual technician, like the profit piece. And the reason that we're okay with doing that, now we don't tell them how much the company's making, but they need to understand that they can't have the best truck, the best tools, the best equipment, the best of everything if they're not producing profit. That's the only way you can buy those things. And by the way, do you want to make more than any other technician out there? Well, guess what? You got to be one of the most profitable people. So we have a profit culture, and we go through that. Secondly, is KPIs. There's no one, including receptionists, that don't have measurables. KPIs are the generic term. We'd call them measurables. And what I mean by that,
key performance indicators.
A receptionist is a great example. People are like, well, how do you put a measurable on a receptionist? Well, our receptionists have 2 measurables. One, what is their closing ratio? How many people did they put in the house? Because that's what a receptionist's job is they're the first sales. I mean, it's all sales. Don't kid yourself, okay? And if you're not training your receptionists and listening to those calls, you're failing from literally the first step. So what is their closing ratio? And like our receptionists, which are also dispatchers at One Tom Plumber, if they don't have an 85% or higher, they go back to training, or they're not part of our world. And we really pushing them to get 90, which is a really hard thing to do, but they stay within 85 or 90%. And 2, did they smile on the phone? When we're reviewing at least 10 calls a week, did they exude, like, did they smile on the phone? Did they make that customer feel like we were going to get their need taken care of? Did they make that customer feel confident? And that was it. And when we would listen to those 10 calls, we would grade them by those things, and then we would do monthly reviews. And it was the same with every single person in the company, including me. I want to make sure that my team knows that they're my boss, okay? I have to be accountable to them, not the other way around. Because if they're hitting their measurables, but I'm not giving them the best equipment, the best of everything, they can do their job. We end every monthly meeting by, what do you need from me or this company to be as amazing as you can possibly be? Because, and that's how we end every monthly meeting, because, so that's the second, is the KPI driven culture. Or third is we have a FIFO culture, okay? I don't want a bunch of people that have to run to their manager, okay? And what I call FIFO culture is figure it frigging out. We use a different word, but I want people who solve problems. I want people who are faced with something and they figure it out. I'm okay with them making mistakes. I'm okay with them learning. I'm okay with them costing the company money because they made a mistake. But as long as they're driving it forward and they're learning from it and going, well, that was stupid, I won't do that again. But also saying, wow, that was great, let's try more of this and less of this. I like people, and I only want people that don't run their manager every time there's a problem. Or if they do have a problem, they don't walk in telling the problem. They walk in saying, hey, I have a solution. I want to run past you. Do you think this is the best solution? Okay. All right. Because now there is no problem. We're just trying to find solutions to road speed bumps. That's all problems are, speed bumps. And when you quit calling them problems and call them speed bumps, it changes the mindset. Okay. And fourth, and almost most important, is, am I my brother's keeper? Now, that might be as politically correct as it was 20 years ago when I was first in business. But what I mean by that is, are we helping each other? Are we always looking out for each other? If the receptionist is busy and the phone's ringing, everybody has to. I mean, if it rings one time, they answer it. If it rings more than that, it goes to someone else, and everybody has to pick up the phone. If somebody has a problem, they're not afraid to call someone and go, hey, I've got this really hard customer. Give me some ideas or solutions. If we're going to a golf outing because we're trying to sell something, every salesperson has to go help that person get set up, even though it's a commission-driven business, and they're not making a penny from it, but those people have to go help them set up for golf outings or show up at events and pass out goodies and things like that. Like, are we always helping each other? Do we always have each other's backs? And that was our culture. And we preach it and we talk about it literally monthly. And if you fit that culture, you're going to make more money than here than anywhere else, and you're going to be happier. You're going to work with rock stars. You're going to get the best equipment, the best of everything. And if you don't, it's only because you didn't ask for it at the end of that monthly meeting.
Yeah. I love it.
We always kid around and say, look, it's got to be reasonable. You can't say, man, I could sell so much more if I was driving around in a Ferrari, so.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's powerful stuff. I mean, those are amazing gems that you've just provided, nuggets of wisdom, for people to be successful in their businesses. I want to take a quick segue, though. And we're going to circle back to some of these things that you're saying in a slightly different way. But I want to segue into one Tom Plummer specifically. I want to dive into that business. But I want to start with just, how you created this, how you came up with this business, and if you had franchising in mind or not, and also how you came up with the name.
Oh, I love that. Well, I had a company that I sold. It'll be 2 years in September to private equity called Icon Property Rescue. Okay, and Icon Property Rescue specialized in commercial, like the Amazons of the world, the high rises of the world, basically Servpro for Cintas and big warehouses and office, 4-story office buildings, things like that. And I had packouts, 1-800 packouts. We owned 3 of those franchises in 3 different cities. And what happened was, that was a lead generator for 1-800 packouts, because 1-800 packouts, if there was a fire or anything, we'd go grab all the stuff, bring it back, clean it, fix it, and then take everything, we'd pack it back, okay? And it made me realize how important that there's a lead generator and a support company, okay? Well, for that, we would constantly be waiting on plumbers to show up, because the reason we would show up usually was a busted pipe, a sprinkler system went off, a toilet line busted on the 15th floor and it drained all the way down to the 12th floor, because those pipes are like this big and there's a lot of water coming out in a lot of these big buildings and things like that, machinery, so on and so forth. And I just literally got tired of waiting on plumbers. But what I realized was there's no true emergency plumbers. There's people who say they're 24/7, but that just means usually they answer the phone and they schedule you up the next day. Okay. So I wanted to build a true company that was a service and emergency service plumbing company. So even when we were building One Tom Plumber, I have no idea what's dinging in my office because my cell phone is dead. But I got a new laptop, so I think that's Apple. So please pardon the dings, okay?
No worries.
But so you can't do remodels, rebuilds, build outs with One Tom Plumber because you're going to tie up your guys, because that's what most plumbers want, is they want to schedule their guys out 2, 3, 4 weeks and be busy ahead of time. Well, what we realized is where the real money is, the real profit is in the emergency and service work. So that's what we focused on. That's what we sell. And that's what One Tom Plumber is. And we tie it into a restoration company that, for example, if Amazon's water line busts, we go fix it, and then we would send in a restoration company, our restoration company, to dry it out and do what it does. So One Tom Plumber was a lead generator for us, first and foremost. That's what it was designed to be. What we realized pretty quick was how profitable the emergency and servicing piece was. So we really put a lot of focus now in growing it. And then once we had our proven business model, we went out to franchising. And like I said, we had 110 of them. And it wasn't just restoration companies. It was some retired high-end C-suite people that bought franchises. We converted probably 5 or 6 different plumbing companies that wanted a system and wanted more profit, that just, we call them chucks in a truck, that didn't know how to get, they had 2 or 3 guys and they just didn't know how to get to the next level. And so we were just targeting people who those type of situations that needed the lead, or they wanted to take it to the next level, city by city. So
got it.
Now, how the name come up?
I'd love to hear this.
One Tom Plumber is 1-866 Plumber. I went out and I bought the phone number 1-866 Plumber. This is kind of a funny story, okay, and a true story. The great thing about Cincinnati, where we're based out of, is Procter & Gamble's here, which is the second biggest branding company in the world. They got Crest, they got Old Spice, they got Dawn, they got Tide, they got, some of the biggest brands in the world, that they're branding. Well, there's so many little support companies. Well, in 2016, when I first came up with the idea, the economy still wasn't 100% back. So I was able to latch on to the same people that were branding Tide, Old Spice, and one other company that was a support company that helped me build the brand for One Tom Plumber. So I sent them 1-866 Plumber, said, how do I sell this? They came back and said, it's 37 impressions, which at the time, 24, 25 was average. And they're saying nobody can figure you out from 866, 1-855, 1-800 plumber, 1-844 plumber. There's too many 1-800 something plumbers, okay? So we looked and saw that 866 spelled ton. Okay, so we're like, okay, 1 ton plumber will save you a ton of money. We got a catchy. We brought it back. They said, nope, we're picturing all the market studies and so on. We're picturing this giant guy with this crack hanging out.
Yeah,
walking in, right? So we found that Tom Crapper he was the plumbing guru. I mean, 100 and something patents. He's the one that really created indoor plumbing and the cock and ball and all that stuff. So we sent it back to him, and they came back again and said, you're sending us a guy from the 1800s, but you're saying you're the new company, you're the future, you're doing this. And basically they were firing me, and I was a little bit mad because I was $200,000 into this company trying to figure out how to brand 1-866 Plumber. And I didn't have anything to lose, and I literally was like, it's One Tom Plumber. The name is the fucking phone number. Sorry about the language, people, but that's what happened. And some guy in the back goes, we could brand that if you take the word fuck out of it. And I was like, put that guy on the phone. So we took One Tom Plumber. The name is the phone number. then they went back out to market, and it was 4 impressions. And they're like, it's the second best brand we've ever had as far as number of times people hear it before they remember it. So it's just like 1-800-Flowers. It's a stupid name, but it's 6 impressions. It's 4 impressions. It's people remember it really quickly, and it's a $12 billion company, you know. So we went to market with One Tom Plumber. The name is the phone number. And people remembered it, and they picked up on it, and we grew like crazy, and you know, we started bringing in talent and people, and took off like a rocket ship, you know,
Like a rocket ship. Wow.
And literally, when we were selling, we didn't use a broker. That we were probably 2 years early from when we wanted to sell, but people are really trying to get into the trades right now, and you know, we sold it for such a stupid high multiple that it was.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, that's an amazing story. I love that. That is hilarious. How the name came about.
And that was over, the one thing too that I didn't mention, that was over like 8 months. Like I'm, you know, just going back and forth with these guys. I just told you the short version, but sometimes the great things come out of the worst circumstances.
Quick pause. If you're thinking about what Rocky just described, here's something useful. I'm a former franchised owner, 14 years, multi-million-dollar exit. Now I help corporate professionals find the right franchise and get into it the right way. I learn about you first, your goals, your skills, your investment level, and then I match you with 3 to 5 opportunities from over 600 brands. I support you all the way through, including validation calls with existing owners. And it's completely free. I'm only paid by franchisors if you find the right fit and move forward. If any part of today's conversation has you thinking, I wonder if this could work for me, go to athletetoowner.com/ready and book a 15-minute call. Now back to Rocky. That's a fantastic origin story. I would love to hear now, kind of moving more towards, you know, the franchise, a potential franchisee, you know, looking at this business, like what, obviously it started as kind of emergency plumbing, right? And so I would love to hear, is that still the core of what you provide, or is that the only thing you provide, or do you also provide other plumbing services as well?
It's kind of the theme. It's the one easy thing to sell because everybody needs emergency service plumbing. Only about probably 18%, if I remember correctly, of our work is 18%. Most of it is scheduled work, but it's scheduled service work where we go in and we fix things. Okay, that's all we do is fix things. Like I said, you still can't do remodels, build outs. You can't tie your guys up, and it's fun because you get to be the hero every single time. And we're set up so systemized that anybody can do it. Even a guy that didn't graduate from high school and has been on one plumbing job. So we set it up to where you literally buy a one-time plumber, and if you follow the steps, you can build a pretty incredible plumbing company without knowing how to do plumbing.
Yeah,
that's awesome. It's all about the people and the talent and the technicians and the way you structure it. But it's got to be someone who wants to be an entrepreneur. It's truly an entrepreneurial endeavor.
Tell me more about that. I was just about to ask kind of who your ideal client is.
Yeah, we sell to like former C-suite people that are now want to get out of corporate and want to do their own thing and don't want to answer to anyone else, or play politics or any of that. It's a plumbing company that wants to be more. It's a restoration company that and then we've got a guy in Michigan named Dave that owns 4 or 6 of them, and he's just a money guy, and he hires talent at each location that systems people, to run the business. We always say that you need great technicians, no question, but really the people in the office, as long as they follow the system, you're going to be successful. So that's what he does. So it's any one of those type things. We've got a guy actually in Seattle, Washington, owns 4 locations, and he's an investor, and he bought 4 of them. Okay. And he's hired the right people, put them in place, and they're killing it. Started with 2, and now he's bought 2 more.
How does that work? Let's say like an investor like this, someone who wants to build a big business, multiple locations, they're not going to have a license, plumbing license. How does that work for someone like that? It's
a great question. And plumbing license is one of the easiest things to get, especially with our model, because most of the stuff we do, we go fix stuff, so you don't need to go get permitting. You don't need to spend time with that. You do have to have a licensed plumber, but they can be on staff or they can be part of it, but they don't have to be an owner. It's state by state how you do it. So you can hire them at different dollar amounts depending on how much you're going to use them and how much you need them. And the business kind of runs without them, because we've got some cities that for a hot water heater you need a permit. Well, he's going to have to go get a permit to do that. And then like here in Cincinnati, we've got an area that we just don't service water heaters because it's such a colossal pain to go get at 12 o'clock at midnight. You got to tell a customer, I can't come and do a water heater because it has to be permitted, So there's a bob and weave there as far as the licensing is concerned. But everybody has to have a licensed plumber, but it's a retiring community. So finding a licensed plumber is probably the easiest thing we're going to do for you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
But it's still a matter of rotating out good, is what I say.
Yeah.
Good's going to work
Find
for
the great.
Yeah. And I've had so many people say, man, I love this guy. He's good. Well, how's he doing? What's his number say? What's this? What's that? Okay, he's okay. I don't even know if he's good. You need to recruit his replacement. If you want to be a highly successful, if you just want to be successful, it's okay with good. If you want to be good, that's what you're going to get. If you want to be highly successful and you want to be spectacular and amazing and awesome and highly profitable, you got to recruit talent.
Yeah.
Dave, that's the only thing that differentiates. I mean, we're pink. We got the pink plunger. It's cool. We're women driven. 83% of our calls are women. So we knew who to brand it for. We got computers, we got desks, we got offices, we got trucks, we got the same equipment. The only difference between us and the competition is the people we hire and our systems that we work and the culture that we build. That's the only real differentiators from our plumbing company to other plumbing companies, is their system and it's our culture and it's the people. Colors, we got different trucks, but it's all we're all using the same equipment, same trucks, the same computers, the same everything. We just got different colors, different systems, and different people.
I love it. It makes sense. Okay, so I want to go back to that investor example. Someone who's going to, is that person now, is this a full-time business for them, or is this something that can be started semi-absentee? Well, obviously we're talking about hiring good people, but is that something you work up to?
The entrepreneur that wants to run the day-to-day, it's a full-time job until he gets to a certain point. Until they get to probably 8 trucks, then they don't have to be there as much because they've got the support in the office. When it gets to about 10 to 12 trucks, honestly, the system is such to where they probably don't have to be there at all if they don't want to be. Someone like Dave from Michigan, Dave, if you're out there, you hear this, what's up? How's it going? He shows up maybe once a quarter just for financial reviews and things like that. He's on the phone regularly because his franchises are in Florida. So I honestly think he originally bought them so that he has a tax write-off when he goes to Florida part of the year. I don't know, but he's not an active participant other than he's hiring the people running those things. And he does, look at the measurables and things like that. But no, you don't have to be if you hire the right people and they learn the system and follow the system. His job is to write checks until it turns from red to black.
Got it. I like it. Okay, I want to circle back now. You give us a lot of great insights earlier about what it takes to build a great business. Having a great team culture. Getting the great people, removing the good to bring in the great. How are you helping your franchisees to do this? Because you obviously can do this yourself. You've done it many times, many businesses. So now the key is for your franchisees who would love to build great businesses for themselves. How are you able to transfer this information to them?
It's a great question. And I wish I could solve this 100% riddle. You can tell the great franchisees by one, are they following the system? If you follow the system, you're going to be successful. And I literally just closed last week. I bought the Sarasota one-ton plumber because it's a great market. I have no idea why, but she was struggling. She was fairly non-existent, and she wasn't following the system. Let me rephrase. There's 2 reasons you have, I'm sorry to divert here, but I think this is really important if you want my mindset. every problem you have in a company is because of one of two reasons, and one of two reasons only. One, they're not, you don't have a system. You don't have a good system, okay? And two, and probably the most common, is you're not holding your people accountable to follow your system, okay? Because if you follow the system and you're constantly making it better, you got a great company. And if you have a problem and you don't have a system in place, like, hey, my receptionist isn't doing very well. Well, let's put a system and some measurables in place, okay? So have a system and hold everyone accountable to your system, but they also, the third thing is hold people accountable to constantly be making that system better and better and better. We call them lessons learned, okay? So having said that, she wasn't holding people accountable and she wasn't following the system. And if the good operators are the ones that make people follow the system. And they're also constantly giving us feedback on how to make us better and what they need, training, profitability training, things like that. So we were constantly, because I'd never been on the franchisor side. So our first 20 franchises helped us build the company because I didn't 100% know what they needed. I know what I needed when I owned the 1-800-PACKOUT franchises, but these guys are so different because of the different areas they're in. You know, like the New York guy, they do big digs, they've got unions to deal with, they've got all this other stuff, where the Florida person, they don't even have basements, you know. So it's a completely different market. So we had to develop, we had to bend, we had to weave, we had to be like Marines, you know, adapt and overcome for every situation, every setting, and every location. So how we learned how to do it and how we gave support was basically when they would ask for it, we would do a huddle up and we would put things in place and then ask them how it's going and constantly had them part of the solution solving as we went forward. And the people that are killing it are the people that were actively involved in that were following the system and helping us make the system better. And God love her, but she wasn't one of those people, you know. And I hate to say it, but it's that simple. If you follow the system, you're constantly helping make it better and giving ideas and suggestions, you're gonna thrive. If you're not all in, if you're not I always say a predator. I know that's a bad term, but it's true. You got to get out there, man, and you gotta eat what you kill. You don't, and everybody's trying to take your stuff. Your competitors. It's a war. Competition. It's a war in competition. That's commerce. You know. And if you're not prepared, if you're not a predator, if you're not someone who's going to go out and battle and fight, that's the other thing. If you don't have that will, and you're not holding your people accountable to do that, then you're not going to be a great operator.
It makes a lot of sense what you're saying, and it's so funny as you're saying all of these things. It strikes a chord with me. I mean, so much of what you've said, your suggestions, it really strike a chord with me. And I was a franchisee for 14 years. You know, I was the top performer in my system, and so many of these things, run true. Accountability, lifelong learning, and just being proactive, really, for your own success. At the end of the day, it's just so important. Like not waiting for things to resolve themselves or whatever, right? You got to be proactive in solving problems and, having systems, being accountable, making things better, right, over time. And it's so funny. Like I've actually this summer piloted a course, like a course that I've been working on for franchise owners, and went really well. And I've learned what I am going to create next, which is this. It's a kind of a franchise business coaching program, basically for new operators or anyone who's in franchising who wants to get better and improve and hopefully eventually sell their business. Have that in mind as the end point. And so much of what you said really applies to that. And I'm excited to get this out in the open so I can share it with you and get your feedback on that.
I love that. I love hearing that. And let me know if there's anything I can help, because a lot of what you're hearing, I had great mentors. I always have mentors. Like in the one-time plumber space, I had his name's Philip Schramm, who owns Buffalo Rings and Wings, and he would literally come to our EOS meetings sometimes, just to so always have a mentor too, because you don't know everything, and people that have been way more successful can, that's who you surround yourself with. But I can tell you, a great mentor told me a long time ago, the second business that I sold, I really didn't get as much money as I wanted for it. And I sat down with him and I said, but I did this. I built a business that I think has a lot of value and want to sell. And he goes, what you built was a business that you wanted to sell. He goes, the only way you're going to get top dollar is you build a business that you want to buy. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when you can build a business that you pull yourself out of and you go, oh, I want to buy that. I don't have to be there. I got great people. I've got amazing systems. I've got this. I've got that. I want to buy that company. Instead of building a business that you think that you want to sell, build a business that you want to buy. And once I learned that trick and to pull myself out and to literally ask my mentors, is my business something you want to buy? Yeah, but you got this. And then once I kind of tweak things and fix things to where they would go, yeah, that's a business I want to buy, then you get top dollar for it. You get the highest multiple, and that's what it's about.
Absolutely.
It's the highest multiple when you sell it. And One Tom Plumber is a great example. We had 3 giant companies trying to buy us. Like I almost felt like they were ambulance chasing us a little bit, and we kind of played them against each other, and we picked the best one that this time I wanted to buy back in, and so I probably we actually settled for one that was this might give away how much it was, but we took millions of dollars less for the sale because we felt like this was going to be the company we could go buy back in and make a way bigger amount down the road. And we were right. So far, so good.
That's great.
Me and my son owned 30%. He was the president the day in and day out of One Tom Plumber, and took it to heights. And the reason that we honestly were able to, he started in a truck. He's a 2-state licensed plumber, so he actually knows how to do plumbing. And, and he drove it to places that, and like I said, we weren't really ready to sell it, but they offered us such crazy money. We sold it on Good Friday, or no, Good Friday, what do you call it, Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, which we now refer to as Green Friday. But we built a business that we wanted to buy.
I love that. That's so smart. In this course, I had piloted. That was my big thing, was build a business. The way I was framing it was build a business, that someone wants to buy. Build a business someone wants to buy. Obviously, building one that you want to buy is great.
That's just my philosophy. It doesn't make me right.
I love it. I mean, they both make sense. Or a business you want to own. Something that it's the same thing. It's the thing that runs itself. It's the thing that makes lots of profit, and you get to choose what you want to do. And so whether you keep it because it's so profitable and hands off, or you sell it for a great multiple because it's so attractive for someone to want to buy, it's really the same thing. I love it.
And I can tell you, I get asked a lot, like, how do I know my business is successful? Like, when do I know, like, okay, I can take a deep breath, and so on and so forth. And for me, it's 2 things, okay? One, do you have to be there? Okay? If you don't have to be there, that's definitely a really cool thing, okay?
Yes.
And 2, my measurable is 20% net profit. And I always say taxable. If I told you what I paid on taxes, because you can't argue that. I mean, as business owners, everybody out there, you can move stuff to this year or that year, move stuff around, buy trucks, all this stuff. But we made sure, like, we fought for it, that we paid tax literally on a 20% net profit company year after year after year. And trust me, if we didn't try and do all the things that we mentioned, like your company cars and, things like that, hopefully it's over 30. But if we filed taxes on 20% net profit and I didn't have to be there, I had a successful business. And that was the goal, for us. And that was what we were. I was never wanted to be the biggest and so on and so forth. One Tom Plumber was definitely growing, and it was giant, and it's, but some of the other businesses like 1-800-Packouts, we were only doing $8.5 million, but we were a 20+ profit company. Mm-hmm. You can do the math. It's still a really, really good living. And I always say you filed taxes on because I can prove that. A lot of people, oh, I was 20%. Yeah, prove it. Yeah. And then you look at their, well, it's because we did this and we moved money. No, I wanted to file taxes on 20% net profit and still do.
That's awesome. It's a great goal. I mean, that's amazing. I know you don't have a whole lot of time with me here left, but I've got so many questions. One, if I can, hopefully I nail this down in just two. So really quick, when you talk about selling the business to like private equity, I think there's some fear from other people around there, like, oh, what happens if this gets bought? And then, they're just trying to, build it up, flip it. And, the franchisees potentially are the ones that are kind of potentially losing out, right? Can you speak to that a little bit?
I can. And that's, you got to, and it's, like I said, we took a little bit of a haircut on the top dollar because we wanted to make sure that our employees, and this company was a $14 billion company that bought us. I think maybe $12 billion. I might have exaggerated just a little bit there. And they had a great track record of keeping people, not only keeping people, but promoting people when they would take over franchises. And two, they had a great history of building them and building the value the right way and reselling them again down the road for exponentially more money than they bought it for. And because the very first private equity purchase that I did, it was exactly what you just said. They, everybody was a number. I got a big check, so it was game-changing, life-changing check, but I didn't look at those boxes, and then I looked back and I felt bad because I sold to a company that wanted to build and sell and didn't care about the human side of things. Okay, so it's definitely something that you want to look at and make sure. But trust me, if you've got a business that's worth buying and that you want to sell, there's people out there that you can find. Just take your time, and look into them. And we talked to other people that they had bought. We talked to probably at least 6 different franchise owners that had sold to this company over the last, one of them sold 12 years ago. And so we had a 12-year history. So it's a great question, and you really want to look out for people who helped you get there. But it's, at the end of the day, our franchisees, if they could sell, a lot of times they'd sell, not really consider us. So it's a little bit of a give and take. It was too important to me and my son Cameron to make sure that we put the franchise and the franchisees that helped us get here in a good way. But as you know, 20% of those franchisees could care less. They would have sold to whoever bought the company and so on and so forth. But it's the 80% that did care about us, that did look out for the brand, that helped us build it, that we wanted to look out for.
That's great. That's great. Well, I know you got to get going. If you got just the last 20 seconds here, what advice do you have for anyone that is looking into franchising as an alternative to the corporate world?
Look into them. Talk to franchisees. Don't just talk to the ones they give you. Literally Google other ones and pick up the phone and call them. I did that. I just bought 5 more franchises. I bought 2 kitchen guards and 3 seals, and I Googled the different areas in the cities, and I randomly called people. And I actually didn't buy a franchise. I system that I don't want to tell you because I don't want to get sued if I hurt them in any way. But I didn't, because I did that and I talked to not the ones they gave me, and it was so I realized. But look deep into it. Make sure it's a good system. Make sure that you have good support. The cost is relative depending on what you're getting. I mean, McDonald's is what, $3 million? Not everybody has that. Some franchises, like the seals that I bought, is $50,000. So my long-winded point is, you got to make sure that you're going to make money. You got to make profit, and make sure that the people that are in the middle, not the high-producing franchisees like me and Alan, they're making money. If they're making money, I know I can make money. So do your homework. And again, I have no idea where that team. My phone is literally.
That's all right.
So I can't apologize enough to everybody out there listening to know what that dinging is.
No worries. No, validation calls important. Absolutely.
Very
talking to people
important. You do your research. Don't be in a hurry.
Yeah, I love it.
And make sure you're going to make money. Some franchises are set up to where you make like X, and they just have so many of them, and you have to buy 20 of them to make money, and that's for you to decide if that's what you want or not. I wanted franchises that I could have a few, and if I was able to build it up, and again, do I have to be there? And am I making 20%? And if that's something that I thought I could do, I bought 5 franchises because of that. And I believe in both of those franchises.
That's awesome. Rocky Hensley, I appreciate you joining me today, sharing all these fantastic nuggets of wisdom, and congratulations on being a franchise champion.
It's only because I got great people. I'm sitting in here now talking to you like I'm the smartest guy. You walk out there, I'm probably the dumbest guy, and I'm happy to say it. The one thing I'm smart about is hiring smarter people and better, hardworking people. And if you do that, the sky's the limit, guys. And Alan, you know that, man. You year after year, you chugged it, you did it, you made money, and now you're sitting here doing what you want to do because you were able to because you did that grind and you had the right people around you. Absolutely.
Thank you, Rocky. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you.
Well, you take care. We'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bye. What stood out to me most from this conversation with Rocky is that he didn't just build a franchise. He built it as someone who had already failed and succeeded a dozen times before he got there. When you inject that kind of knowledge in a franchise system that other people can buy and have as their own business, that's a recipe for success. If you got value from this episode, please subscribe wherever you're listening or watching, and leave a review. And if today's conversation has you thinking seriously about franchise ownership, go to athletetoowner.com/ready. Book 15 minutes with me. Let's figure out if this is the right path for you. I'm Alan Regala, helping you become a franchise champion. See you next week.